Do you wake up every day pumped to work on your business? You sit down at your computer, you have a list a mile long of things to do for your business, but you have no idea if they are actually moving the needle forward or if they're just helping you feel like you got quote unquote something accomplished today. When I first started my business, I remember thinking multiple times, well, now what? So I would go to a Facebook page, ask my questions, or I would search Google only to get 20 different answers. Being who I am, I would try to do them all. But they were not moving my business forward. They were just stressing me out. I have decided to create a membership for other pro organizers that can be like a real estate office. We all have our own business, but we can meet at the office for support, guidance, and inspiration. I created this membership because it's what I wish I would have had when I was first starting my business. It's everything that I've ever wanted out of a coaching program and membership. In the Pro Organizers coaching community, you get bi-weekly group coaching, monthly workshops, and discounts on my one-on-one coaching program. So go to ProOrganizers.community or go to ProOrganizers.com/community to find out more. And all of the links will be in the show notes below. Now let's do this thing. You are listening to the Pro Organizers Coach podcast. I'm Samantha Brown, a professional organizer and business coach. In this podcast, you will learn how to start and scale the organizing business of your dreams. So let's jump in. Welcome back to the Pro Organizers Coach podcast. On today's episode, I have Kelsey with me, and we are going to do a one-on-one coaching session, and we are also going to talk about the membership that she just signed up for. So we just launched the Pro Organizers coaching community. We're going to talk a little bit. She was asking some questions, and I was like, well, let's just go ahead and hop on the podcast and let the listeners hear also about what is included inside the community and what she gets in the membership. Let's start there, and then we'll just start coaching. First off, in the coaching community, we have a group of professional organizers. From my perspective, the way I've kind of broken it up is in starting your business, which is up to, you've worked with like 5 or 10 clients, like you're at the point where you're starting to get quite a few clients, because I think that's kind of the differentiator between like if you're just starting or if you're scaling. Because the starting piece is when you're still like getting your contract, figuring out who you are as an organizer, how you work with clients, like what your sessions look like. All of those things are still in starting my business. And then if you're scaling your business, you've already figured out those foundational pieces, but now you're trying to get clients like consistently and, kind of go upward after you've gotten all the foundational pieces. And so the way I've set the membership up is that you get 2 group coaching sessions per month. And what that looks like is it's either with a group of women that are just starting or it's with a group of women that are scaling. So then that way each person can kind of ask, their questions, and you can learn from not just you and what you're wondering, but also what other people in the same stage as you are going through. And then it's really nice to have other people to just kind of chat with and not feel crazy like you're so alone in this trying to start your business and build it and scale it and do all these things. And it's hard to know, like, am I on the right track? Am I not? Like, how is this going for me? And when you can hear other people's stories, it just like makes it easier as you're going. And then I'm also doing a monthly workshop. So like once a month, we'll have like a certain topic for everybody. And that'll be, just like a teaching kind of thing. And then you get discounts on, like the one-on-one coaching programs that I have. So thank you, Kelsey, for being on the podcast.
No problem. That makes sense. And I think you've said it to me before, and for some reason it didn't all sink in. So yeah. And then in regards to the program, that's an addition, correct?
Yeah. So the way I've got it set up is the membership is the group stuff. So that, and the group stuff may end up being like, you may come to a session and there be only you or you and one other person, especially at the beginning. Because, we've got like, I think 11 members now. We just launched this week. which is fantastic. But of course, as it gets bigger and bigger, the groups may get a little bigger, but the goal is to keep them as small as possible. So you all can feel like twice a month that you are getting to speak about what's going on for you and what like the next steps are. And then the one-on-one coaching. So I have like one-offs that are kind of like unstuck sessions. So like you get a discount on those if you are a member, as just kind of a thank you for being a member in the community. I decided to do a discount on those. And those one-off sessions are just kind of like a, hey, I'm getting stuck in this one spot. Like I just need to talk it out. And then I've got my like 8-week coaching program, which is we're going to start and set up kind of like a roadmap of exactly how to get your business off the ground and running and like what the steps are. And then each week we meet back and go over, okay, what have you done this past week? You know, with your homework, where are you at now? What's going on for you? And then what's your goals for this next upcoming week? So the 8-week program is kind of like like I'm ready to hit the ground running. And I just want to like meet every week just to like kick my butt into gear and like get this thing going.
What was the cost of that again?
So it's $697 for the like a one-time payment. And the way that I've set that up is there's a couple options. So like if you do a one-time payment, it saves you like $80. Or you could do it over 2 months where it's $367 for the 2 months, which is every 4 sessions. But I've also given the option of it can either be weekly or bi-weekly. So if you would rather it be a longer program and you're not like, and that's what that first kind of consultation is for, is just to kind of figure out for you, like, do you want this to be an every week thing? Is that too fast for you? Would you rather it be a bi-weekly thing? But it's more about the 8 sessions. So then, so it would either last 2 months or 4 months based on like how fast you're wanting to do this thing and what you have room for. But I kind of went with 8 because you can get unstuck and you can kind of get going over 1 or 2, but exactly what we were talking about a minute ago, where you were like life hit and things happen. And, like we have all these plans and we're like, oh, I'm starting my business. It's starting January 1st. This is happening. And then life happens and, dogs get sick or kids get sick or, whatever. Sometimes there's not only like the actual tangible steps as a business, but then there's also like mindset drama that we have going on. And, there's all these things that start to come up for us as we're creating our business. And then once we start working with clients, there's even more questions sometimes that come up of like, oh, well, how did this go? Or here's what happened with this consultation, or, like it just takes time to get everything off the ground and to really figure out who you are and be able to then like go forward on your own kind of thing.
Right. And that's why I signed up too. I mean, even the few conversations we've had, as well as had the meeting I was able to attend, have been helpful. And I do feel like it would be valuable for me. Like, I do think life does tend to get in the way, and I tend to make all the things that I have going on in my own life the precedence. So, I mean, I could even say I probably wanted to really get all this stuff done back in the fall. Now we're here. But I do feel like even like I said, right now, I don't have any clients, and I'm choosingly like, there's a little bit of like, I want to go like get more clients to obviously make money. But I'm like, you know what, that's going to keep on putting all this stuff that I do want to get done. And I do want to do it right. And I'm hoping that with your direction and knowledge and the groups, right, that I can get some feedback and that confidence there a little bit faster. And I do think that I have had things in my mind, and I've even, tried to, as I've tried to hone it down, like, okay, what am I trying to accomplish this week or whatever, or today or whatever it is. But I do feel like if I knew someone was saying like, here's what I want you to do, or what I think the best thing is in all this new stuff, I would do it. I'm very much a goal-oriented person, and accountability is huge for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where, I mean, I'm hoping this call might help me too. Like, that's why I'm asking a lot of questions about things too. I don't want to take advantage of you.
And like I said earlier, I want all of you, like when you all succeed, I succeed, right? Like I was in the bed last night with my husband and I was like, honey, look, because one of the girls I'd been helping, and she was actually one of the people that went after I coached her, I was like, this is what I want to do. This is like my sweet spot. Like I love this stuff. So long story short, she still works full time as a teacher. This is her last year in retirement until she's retired. But she ended up from like September through December with 15 clients. And one of them was like a 3,500 square foot home. She did the entire home. Like these were bigger jobs. And she had actually turned down some clients in the beginning because she wanted specific types of clients. And she was in that place like in September of like, where are my people? Where are my clients? Like, I've only had like 2 people. And then from then to December, after we worked a few things out, she ended up with 15 clients in her first, few months as an organizer. So my point being is that, it made me so happy to hear that it was actually going well for her and it was working for her. And, that some of the stuff we had set up in the beginning was panning out and was working. And so I want you all to succeed. Like I want, when you all have wins, it makes my heart happy. Like that's why I'm doing this,
Yeah. And I definitely think that you have the right mindset in that, and you probably likely will be very successful because of that. Because as you know, I've already signed up for something and I haven't explored it as often as or as much as maybe I could, and maybe I'd find more value in it. I can already tell that I feel like you're invested in me, and that makes a big difference. I mean, you seem like you have everything down, and like even all this business stuff, I am just so much learning. Like, how do you do it all and do it well and set it up and all this? You know it already. Like even just with this, as you're launching this part of you have emails set up to check in and all that. And I want to know how to do that. Like, how do you do that well with your clients and what that rhythm should be? And
yeah. Well, and
there's so much to talk about.
There is. And I think a lot of it, the reason I can help like you and the other girls that I've been helping, and like I even pray and I ask God, like, don't send me anyone that A, I can't help, or B, isn't who I used to be, because that's who I should be helping, is who I used to be. Right. And so I remember being in that place of like, all the thoughts, all the things, like I want to get everything figured out before I like leap. And I know you've already worked with clients, so like, that side of it. But at the same time, a lot of it is just kind of figure out as you go. Like there's so much you can do at the beginning, that whole like analysis paralysis, because of our type of personality of who we are, is a very real thing.
Yeah. I think that's why I am okay with the fact that I have already like had clients and all that. I mean, even I texted you this week, like, what do I do with this client? Just all over the place in that first like few minutes. I was just like, whoa. Even with that, I was feeling anxiety. I texted you, but even just that too, like working through it and going with it, it ended up working out fine. And that's the experience of going like, okay, I may not know exactly, but like I know enough. It was comforting to talk to you, but I probably would have done what I done even without talking to you. Like it just is like knowing that there's someone there going, okay, is there maybe something that I'm missing because you've worked with these people?
And that's exactly what I want. That is the missing piece, in my opinion, between people that only have like courses. Like when you're starting an organizing business, you need someone that's in your corner, that just the security of knowing, okay, I can send a quick message and I'm going to get an answer. Then I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing anyways. But it's just knowing that that's there. It's almost like a security blanket in the beginning, because in the organizing world, no one is saying do it exactly this way. It's not like you've gone and gotten a degree in something and now you're implementing step by step by step. You're literally like swimming as you go and hoping it works out, kind of thing. And so it can be very overwhelming and just like feeling like you don't know what you don't know. Right. And so, so just being able to send a quick message of like, hey, I'm with this client, this is happening. Like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing?
Yeah. Well, that's also another thing. I mean, good for your other people if they're listening too. You're very available, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
I hope you balance it out. Like, I hope it's not like too much pressure, but you get back really right away. And I very much appreciate that too. So that's a nice thing to know, that like, okay, yeah, like again, you're invested.
Yeah. So. Yeah, for sure. So you've worked with clients. How many total would you say that you've worked with at this point?
Well, I'm actually like been sitting down. Even yesterday, I sat down for a good hour or so and just kind of trying to get my finances down a little bit and like figuring that out. I think there's probably, I listed like 8, maybe 8-ish clients. one big job that I was at for a few months. And then all the other ones have been, you get done in a week or two with them, and all have had great learning experiences in all of them. So questions, I have so many. The one thing that I'm contemplating and I'd like to get your input on, I want to print business cards. I haven't done it yet. And maybe you've noticed in my email. So when I first was creating the business, like I had this mindset before I had any clients at all, like, ooh, I want to be like home edit style, like have it all clean and crisp. And hopefully attracting those type of clients that can afford that type of stuff, because it does make the job easier in some ways when you can just buy what you want to buy. But as I got into it too, it's like, okay, I like doing that. And when you have a big house and all that, and you have the ability to do that, great. But I live in a small house. I have always been a budget minded person. So the reality of spending money like it's nothing and not being creative and trying to get the best deal and use what you have and all that is not my reality. Like I want to do that. So I named my business 425 Premier Organization because I figured, so 425 is like the area code that I'm in, and Premier like being like, okay, you're that upper level. I just thought organization, but like organization can actually be like just a business. So I haven't changed that to just like organizing, but I don't know if I should try it, have it like 425 organizing. And then I was like, well, I don't say the home part. Like, what is this? It really doesn't state exactly what you do. So I'm now 425 home organization. I've heard both sides. Like, it's not that big a deal. But to me, in my head, I'm like, I feel like it's confusing.
Well, okay. So there's two ways to look at this. One is it a loss or was it a failing forward? Like I had to walk through that to get to this, but thank God I'm at this because now I know what I want to be moving forward.
It's failing forward, but I'm like, oh, is someone else going to tell me that this isn't the greatest name? Like I kind of like it, but from what I've seen with other people's names, a lot of them are just like Samantha Brown Organizing, like
I don't know that it matters, right? Like, I mean, it does, but it doesn't. So like it matters to you because it's like your baby and you're naming it and that's important to give it a good name that you enjoy. I ended up naming my business Love, Laugh, Organize because it was like, like live, laugh, love. Cause back then everybody was on that kick, but every person I've ever told has been confused by my name. They hate it. Like they're so confused by it. And then I have to explain why I named it that. And it's this whole horribleness, but I've gotten clients and I've gotten through, and to me, I liked it. So I got to the point where I was like, forget what everyone else is saying. Like, I like the name. And the reason I don't know how much it matters is because everything's connected by links now. So, like, as long as you're on Google for like Google My Business and someone can search organizers near me,
right.
No matter what you're named, it's going to come up. They're going to click the website button. It's going to go straight to your website. They're probably not even going to pay attention to the name at the top of the.
I agree. So there's my like, okay, so do I spend the money to go do it right? Or
is it doing it right? Or are you okay with what you have? Because if you're okay with what you have, then just be like, okay, check, moving forward, done. Or does it matter enough to you to change it?
I don't know.
Are you finding it easy to use Wix? Like, has it been a pretty easy thing to do and use?
Well, that's the only experience I have. So I can't really like say like, oh, Squarespace seems better or whatnot. And the other thing in regards to me, all of my other jobs have always been out in the field. I have not been a computer person in any way. So all this stuff is very new to me. So I guess with that, all that information, no, it hasn't been super easy. There have been times where I'm like, oh, this is easier than I thought it was. But I think the hard part for me is the focus. I only have limited time. I often get up early in the morning to try to get all this stuff done without the interruption of kids. Or I'm doing it when I'm super tired. A lot of times when I'm like, my brain is ready, my kid gets up. That literally happened when I was setting up the website too. Like I was like doing all these things, like going through the step-by-step thing, and then I get interrupted, and it literally took me like 2 months to get back to it. And then once I got back to it, all of that stuff that was in my head, because it had been 2 months, like, I'm like, I have no idea where I'm at. And it didn't start me from where I left off. I'm hoping in the next week or whatnot, because again, I am trying to sit down and focus. I think I am doing better than I'm giving myself credit for. But I definitely don't feel like comfortable in it. Like, I think I'm doing it, but I don't feel like I'm getting it done right.
So I would love to set and plan a session that we just look at your website, like, because I feel like you're going to need this like separate time to look at it. And if it could give me some time between now and then for me to look over it and come up with some ideas.
Sure. I have yet to have the experience that you do. And I kind of would love to know what that's like. I kind of like doing it on my own and kind of like not having the person there. I mean, have to go through the process. And most of mine have either like, they already know that they have the stuff they need, like small space. It's just they don't know how to utilize it well, or, they do understand they have like homework, and or I've done the sorting so they can make the whole decluttering process a lot easier of just, okay, I've got all my shirts together. And even just this client this past week I work with, we were talking about the sentimental box that she has. She seemed fine, but I was like, do you want me to sit down with you and do that with you? You want to talk over some of the stuff, but it seemed like she could process on her own. It was okay. But even just that, she picked up a few items and talked about it, and she's like, I obviously had this in my box, but I have no idea what it is now. So now it can leave. And thankfully she could do it on her own. It wasn't like, I want to talk about these things. So I haven't had a person that's like, I need you to be here. I don't know.
Well, and that's where finding your people, like if that's what you enjoy, is doing it on your own and being able to like put your headphones in and just go. And if your clients seem happy with that, then maybe those are your kind of people. Like maybe they've already done the decluttering and they really do need more of the organizational piece, where for a lot of clients, when you go in, they don't even know where to start. Like everything's just overwhelming. There's just stuff everywhere. And so you have to start with the decluttering because there's just too much crap in that space.
Yeah.
Like there's no way to organize what's there. You have to declutter it because they've not gone through their stuff in however long. But if your people are more of, they've already decluttered or they're pretty minimal anyways, they just need the stuff that's there in that space to function better and need it, quote unquote, organized instead of decluttered, then maybe that is more of your speed. And those will be more of the clients that you have.
But just like even I said, I think some of them have done well on their own. But even with that, I mean, how I would sell it if I saw like, okay, you need to declutter and I'm still trying to do it on my own, is like, okay, I'm going to take that overwhelming piece for you. If you can go through some stuff like real quick and, let's just get it out of here. You know what you want out. Let's do it all together. But if you don't know where to start, okay, let me start categorizing them so we can at least get you in the focus mindset of like, okay, today I'm going to go through the toys. How do I do this? Like, okay, I don't have a baby anymore. Let's start getting rid of the baby toys. That's how I would probably sell that, so it's like, you don't have to be here during that overwhelming part where there's a lot of stuff. Like I can get it all categorized and then take you into one space.
Yeah. So I give my clients the option of like, I need you around. I can do it to a certain point without you, but at some point I need you to come in and help me figure out like the I don't know pile. And I also tell them, or I can set you in a chair and I can be your hands and feet and we can go through this together. And that's what my people like, is they like to sit in a chair and me literally be their hands and feet, like kind of holding up item by item. Like today, the lady I had, we were packing up her Christmas items but decluttering them at the same time because they didn't fit into the closet they were supposed to fit into. I ended up leaving with a couple bags, not as much as I would have liked. And there was still a tote that wouldn't fit in the closet because I'm like, you've got too much stuff. But she was sitting over like watching TV so I could randomly like, hey, what about this one? No, is that a keep? What is this thing? Is it sentimental? Like, what is it? That way next year when she's pulling it out, everything's at least categorized. My thing is, I always tell them the first session or two, I definitely need you at least around where I can ask some questions. Yeah. But once I get to know you, I could do it for you if you want me to. And so with her, for instance, out of the 4 or 5 sessions we've had so far, because we're going through her whole house, 2 of them, she's just been around for me to ask questions, and I've done more on my own. And 3 of them have been like me, like talking to her the entire time. Don't even have time to put my earbuds in because she's right there talking it out.
Like one client that I worked with in December, same thing. I saw somewhat of the benefit of having them around. I was working with her kitchen and she was home because I think it was on a Saturday. And we got to have these conversations.
And it's always different, right? Like, because the point is for them to be happy. And so as long as they're happy with what we're doing and we stay in contact with them and keep asking them questions, they're going to be happy because we're being their hands and feet. Like, we're going to do it no matter what. I think the other piece is it is always different. Always. No 2 clients are ever the same. No 2 sessions are ever the same. Like, yeah, I can say the majority of my clients are decluttering sessions, but they all still look completely different on the time that they're sitting there with me or not, or they're just around or not, or they're not even home, or that's our business. It stays that way, which is awesome for us. And I think it also matters during the consultation how we're selling it, right? Like, a lot of people don't know what an organizer does or can do for them. They just know they need help. So they reach out to an organizer and they're like, well, what does it look like to work with an organizer? And during the consultation, we explain how we do it. And so then, of course, it's right because that's the only time they've worked with an organizer normally. And so they're just like, oh, okay, this is how organizers work. So it's not really right or wrong. It's just we all do it a little different, and that's okay as long as they're happy.
Right. How do you charge for like shopping and all that? Do you just charge it in your base price?
One is during the session, I have in my contract that I do a $25 per hour shopping fee. Which you can make it whatever price you want. That's just what I chose because I'm like, well, if I'm at home looking on Amazon, like $25, I'm happy with,
Yeah.
But the other option is like, I always send my clients an Amazon link so they can just purchase it straight from Amazon. Or, we go on a website and I'm like, well, there's these options or these options. Like, what do you like? Very few times have I had to actually go and do the legit like shopping. Normally they have so many things there because most people buy their stuff first and then they call an organizer when they realize they can't do it for themselves. So a lot of people have their stuff. But I have had a few clients that I've had to spend like multiple hours, and I just go ahead and talk to them ahead of time. And I'm like, listen, what kind of stuff do you like? And then you take, and you measure the space. And that's where it gets a little complicated. And I didn't realize how complicated it would get. If the shelf is 27 inches wide by 16 inches deep by, 9 inches high. So then the 27 inches wide, well, do I need 2 bins to go there, or do I need 3, or do I need 4 based on the stuff that's going on that shelf? And then dividing that into the 27 and then finding something that's like a 6 by 16 by 6 because I need enough clearance for them to be able to put their hand in. Like, it can get time consuming.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think they understand. I haven't had anyone like complain like or show me like outright frustration with all that. Yeah, there's definitely been some learning moments where I'm like, oh, I thought these would work and they don't. You go back to the drawing board. But there too, I'm like, how much grace do I give myself? Should I already kind of know this stuff? And that's what they're expecting from me, especially now that, I am going into a higher charging rate and all that. And I think my experience has allowed me to go, okay, I think I've got it right.
It's a time-consuming process because you're having to think of everything that goes in that space. How many bins do I need? Then finding a bin that's the exact measurements of what you need, including the depth, and then thinking, well, does it need to be clear or wood or, wire or,
Right.
It can take a lot. And, that's why a lot of times I like the whole Amazon thing, because when I send them something, they can be like, yes or no. And if they say yes, they're just clicking it. And I'm like, okay, buy 3 of these and 4 of these, or, whatever it is, compared to, well, let me go shopping and spend, which I'm not a shopper. I hate going to stores anyway. It stresses me out. And so I would much rather just send the link and then buy it, me charge them the $25 per hour fee. And I just tell them any shopping I do in between now and then, like, the total of hours, I will add to our next session because I'm getting paid per session. So for you, that might look a little different, but I did want to ask you real quick, as we're kind of winding down though, is on the lady that was the big package, you mentioned something about, you're glad she paid you.
Yeah.
So did you set that up in a way that because if I'm doing big packages, I'm at least getting half up front or something.
The first few weeks, I had her sign the contract and it was like, I take payment in advance. She was also my first big client, like my first one where like it wasn't, going to be $100 at a time. So when I sold her the 36-hour pack, the first one, she was like, well, let's do 50. And I was like, okay, whatever. Like, and then, once I'm at 18 hours, I'm going to come and like ask you for the remainder of the time. And she did pay me for that. But then once she went on the business trip, she said, oh, you can talk to my husband. He can pay you and all this. But it was just like, I just didn't want to go in there. So what I was doing, because even like the first time I met him, he was like, I was in their closet. And he's like, so when are you going to be done with this? And I was like,
yeah. That's a husband thing to say.
As he saw what I was doing, I think even when I finally got to the pantry and all the things I did, he was just like, I think he was sold that I was like there for a purpose. He was like, oh my gosh, I love what you did with this. And that's the best thing. I would have never thought of it. And da, da, da. So
yeah. And anyways, that's a good tip for any person out there listening that's especially just getting started. The husbands they don't understand. They think you're just another cleaner, but you charge like double the price. Like they don't get it. And they're like, why isn't this faster? I don't understand. But then they hit a moment after you've done so much work where they look around and realize like, oh, okay. Like no wonder this took time. But it's, not only do we have our clients' expectation, we have the family's expectations that we have to set also. And it's hard to explain what we do until we can show somebody exactly what we do. Right. I have a husband right now that I'm working with that he was the one that reached out to me for his wife. So he was the one that called me in. I'm now working with her to declutter stuff. And every single time I go, he starts the session the first time he sees me with, have you ever seen so much stuff in your life? Every time. Yeah. That's the question. And then before I leave, the question is, have you found us a cleaner? Because I'm in the process of trying to help them find an actual cleaner. Have you found us a cleaner? How much longer is this going to take? And do you feel like you're making progress? Every time. Those are the same 4 questions.
Well, and even when I got into the pantry too, like, well, they have a nanny and they have a cook. So I was like asking them questions too, because they're in that house functioning as well as like the wife is gone. Yeah.
I think you're doing great. Like, I think that it really, and I think you said it yourself earlier, you're not giving yourself enough credit.
One thing that, I haven't perfected that. And I kind of like doing the shopping on my own, just so like if I have mistakes, I can take them back and they don't have to hassle with it or blah, blah, blah. But in that experience, again, like I said, thankfully she paid me, but there was some nerve-wracking moments in that because at one point I had $2,000 bill, somewhere around there at least. But even in this last client I have, very like anytime like the package got done, she paid me the other package. She was like on time. And I have in my thing that the products will be invoiced after the work is done. I do have a 10% markup. So that's how I'm kind of doing my like shopping fee or whatever. She hasn't paid me for the products yet. It's been a week. It's not long enough. Like I'm going to send her a week email. I think it's on Tuesday that I sent her the invoice, but I get so like nervous at like this time that I'm like, why? Like anytime I sent you an invoice for the hours on it and now you're not like, and she, even like the last day I was there, like I, sent a last text and she hasn't texted me back. So I'm like, what is going on? I think probably getting back into school because she's a teacher, all this like is probably it, but very interesting. And I'm like, what is this? So now I'm like in my head, I'm like, I'm still figuring it out. And even like this last client, she expressed the value of like, I don't have the time, or I just don't want to be kind of thinking about it of like having to go to the Container Store or Target or whatever it is. So like, do you want to go do that for me in my like packaging? Like right now, I'm like, I will just do that shopping. Obviously, there's a 10% markup, but I don't charge for it, right? So in my head, I'm like, so do I charge for this hour that I have to go to the Container Store? Yeah, so it all depends. I'm still figuring all that out. I definitely has taken me a lot more time in the beginning, but now I have my go-to products for the most part.
Yes. Yeah. But I do like the idea of your 10% because the more products they purchase, the more time it takes you, the more money you make because it's 10% of
Right.
the total. And the faster you get at it, the more you're actually going to be making more, like the same amount of money, but for less time. So I do like that idea, though, a little bit more than my shopping fee, I think. But I still think maybe there's a way to do like, shopping for bins. Each trip is one of your organizing hours plus 10% or something to where it gives you like an extra, like something.
Sure. So I'm getting there. And again, like you said, there's so much to do in the beginning and it will get easier.
Yeah. And I think earlier there was one other point I wanted to make before we hop off here, though.
Yeah.
Is earlier you had said that some stuff was at a loss. And I hear you, right? Because I'm still at that place right now where this business, the membership and the podcast, I've been doing it for months and months and months. And I'm just now seeing the first dollars, right? Like, it's been a lot of work. And even my husband is like, when are you going to make money from this? Like, this is insane. But I do know that thinking in my mind, so like I had to hire a virtual assistant just because I don't know all the back end stuff of like the SEO and the blah, blah, blah. And I don't care to learn it. I'd rather pay somebody.
I'm contemplating that too, like, because I don't know if I care.
I keep having to remind myself because it feels like when I'm getting her little list of how many hours she's working and what the cost is, I'm like, oh,
I know.
I just had $20 come in and there went 80, know, kind of thing. But I keep having to remind myself it's a tax write-off. It's a business write-off.
Well, that's what I'm learning too.
It comes out of the business side of it. Because I do 40% that I put
and
back.
This type of stuff, like I need to learn and want to learn. Because I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be like fretting about it as much too because of that.
Anything that you're doing for your business, anything that you buy for your business, any of that stuff, it's a write-off. It comes out of the 40% essentially. Because...
So is that how you calculate it? Like essentially 40% of like your hourly rate should be
put over into savings is what I do. Yeah, talking to tax people. One lady told me like 30. Another guy told me 40. We kind of came to the conclusion of 35% is more like accurate. But I was like, well, I'd rather have a little extra at the end of the year and it be a nice little bonus than, all of a sudden I don't have enough money in my savings to pay my taxes or whatever. Like, I don't want to do that. So I was like, for me, I'd rather just say 40%. It's easy. 40% goes. So if someone pays me $100, 40 goes straight into savings, 60 comes into my personal account.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all this stuff.
It'll get there. I promise you. I promise it'll get there.
What do I do today? Do I learn about taxes or do I build my website or do I go get a business card or do I go, learn how to do social media? Like, I'm like, oh.
Right now, you should be focusing on the website for sure, because that is your business card. That is your calling card. Like every single person goes to that to look at, are you a legit business or not? So I would focus on the website first and foremost. And then do you have your Google My Business up yet?
No.
Okay. Go back and look at your Google My Business. This is your homework.
I think there's a couple because I did it through the Wix thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the main part is the verification, right? So like if you have not verified it, you're not going to show up on Google search at all until they send you a postcard with like a 6-digit number on it. And you go into Google My Business and put in your 6-digit thing, then it'll say verified. So that's what you need to work on is the actual website itself and then getting yourself verified on Google because that matters more than anything else. I promise you.
I can do that.
You have been listening to the Pro Organizers Coach podcast. Go to the show notes to find all of the links mentioned in this episode and hit that subscribe and automatic download button so you don't miss a single thing. Thanks for listening.